All right. Welcome on in to another action-packed edition of the Between the Hash Marks podcast. As always, I'm Matt Lombardo, and I'm joined by my friend, colleague, mentor, the purveyor of the Two Deep Zone on Substack, none other than Mike Tanya. Mike, how you doing, my friend?
I am doing great, and it's great seeing you in the office for a moment. Like every time I see you, you're on I-95, or soon you're going to be on the Blue Route. You are the highwayman right now.
Yeah, the tour is in full swing. We've hit East Rutherford, we've hit Ashburn. Tomorrow morning, we're getting up bright and early to hit Latrobe and the Steelers. It's been a lot of fun, really informative. Came up with some really great content, I think, for the column this past Monday. Looking forward to seeing the Steelers and Aaron Rodgers, and hopefully chatting with you about it a little bit afterwards.
I can't wait. By the way, make sure you go to Park and Eat. Make sure you eat at Park and Eat. That's my
Yes.
and also just Latrobe. They get weird out there.
Is this like the Newark thing in Delaware? Because I lived in Delaware for a minute after I graduated college, and you could not refer to Newark as Newark because no, Newark is New Jersey. This is Newark, so it's
Newark,
Latrobe.
it's Latrobe, and you don't want to get that. You're not from around here, are you, city boy? Kind of thing that you'll get a little bit when you're in Pennsylvania, and you're kind of like the capital of Pennsylvania in Latrobe. Just forewarning you. I spent many a August afternoon out there.
I'm looking forward to it either way and interacting with the locals and hopefully finding a great brew pub or something for after practice. But before we get into the news of the week,
Good
and
luck
it's
with
been
that.
where was
Good luck with that.
Yeah, no, I know. I know what I'm getting myself into. But before we get into the news of the weekend, it's been a newsy week on the field and off the field across the NFL. A little bit of housekeeping. If you enjoy Mike Tanier's personality, the eccentric analysis, the dad jokes, the deep dives into analytics, be sure you subscribe to the Two Deep Zone on Substack. And if you've been following the training camp tour, if you enjoy my reporting, the features, the conversations I have with people, please subscribe to Between the Hash Marks on Substack as well. And if you're listening to this podcast, if you're watching it on YouTube, please go ahead and subscribe on my YouTube channel at Matt Lombardo 975. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, wherever you get your podcast, and leave those 5-star reviews and ratings. They really do help grow the show, make us easier to find going into football season. Leave the reviews. They help boost the show. And even if you don't like us, even if you can't stand the show, or you think I'm full of it, or Mike doesn't know what he's talking about, blast us, rip us. We'll read it on the air, and it'll be a lot of fun and therapeutic for everybody.
Absolutely. It doesn't matter what you say as long as you say
You know, that seems to be what's going on with Jerry Jones right now, doesn't
it.
it?
Right. No, any engagement's good engagement when you're on the internet or you own the Cowboys.
And we've spent the last 2 or 3 weeks just dissecting this. I don't even know what to call it. Contentious seems like not a strong enough adjective to describe what's going on between Micah Parsons and Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys, because Micah Parsons goes scorched earth this past Friday with a very public trade request where, among other things, he publicly accuses Jerry Jones of deceiving him into contract negotiations during a meeting that Micah Parsons claims was about leadership on the team and how can be a better team leader, only to have it delve into contract talks.
Right.
Jerry Jones, of course, makes the comments disparaging Dak Prescott and Trayvon Diggs and Micah Parsons for having the temerity to be injured last year. And now, Mike, it sounds like Jones isn't even confident that Micah Parsons will be on the field in week 1 in Philadelphia for the NFL regular season opener. Just a complete mess and abject disaster in Dallas.
Not only is Jerry like pouring butane over anything he possibly can to make this worse, but becoming increasingly insular and bizarre the way he talks about it. You know, it's kind of improper for the owner and the player to directly negotiate. It's frowned upon. I don't know if it's 100% illegal because some players are their own agents and some conversations are inevitable, but it's improper to do what Jera and Micah did. And Jera, of course, is the boss in this situation. And his response to that is like, well, that's how I do business. And he came up with this wild Grandpa Simpson-esque story about how he bought the Cowboys with a 30-second conversation and a handshake and a coin toss over some of the money. And I got to tell you right now, that story, it's not true. It's not true.
There's no way.
There's no way it's true. We are not talking about 1919 at the Hupmobile dealership when they were talking about, $10,000 worth of rights to join this new American football thing or whatever. Like what, 1988? We're talking about we're talking Clint Murchison. We're talking about there were lawyers, and there were economists, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's not how Jerry did business. That's how Jerry wants you to think he does business. It might be what Jerry now thinks he used to do business because he doesn't have the facts as clear as he used to. It's it's unprofessional. It's embarrassing, and it's again. There's no like logic saying, well, this is the way this is like a negotiating tactic, or this is a cry for attention. It's a cry for help, is what it is.
And what I can't figure out is Jerry Jones seems to be acting as if the Dallas Cowboys are a poverty franchise. We're talking about this, one of the top 2 to 3 most valuable brands
Yes.
across the world of sports. I mean, you put the Dallas Cowboys up there with Manchester United, the New York Yankees, the Dallas Cowboys, put them in a hat. They're the 3 most valuable franchises in sports. And yet Jerry Jones continues to talk about how he paid guaranteed money to players who wound up getting injured. And now the direct quotes coming out about his belief about Micah Parsons being there or not being there for week 1. Quote, again, no, absolutely not, Jones said via the Dallas Morning News when asked if he believes Micah Parsons will be on the field week 1. A big part of that is his decision. How would I know that? I'm just saying I'm urgent, unquote. I don't think that Jerry Jones has shown much urgency over the past half decade. I mean, we'll just replay this over and over again. They allowed the wide receiver market to set itself before committing to CeeDee Lamb. They allowed the quarterback market to set itself before committing to Dak Prescott. They allowed Myles Garrett and some of these other top pass rushers, TJ Watt among them, to sign before really getting serious about negotiations with Micah Parsons. There's no urgency here on Jerry Jones's part. There's no desire to pay Micah Parsons market value, it doesn't seem. And if you're Micah Parsons, use all the leverage you can. You don't have a lot of it. And the trade request seems like the most valuable chip that he has in his bag of tricks at the moment. And he's playing it.
Yeah, and I wrote about this last week or 2 weeks ago. And just to share something with you and with the audience, I had a panicky phone call from the nursing home from my mother, who had a absolute screaming match with another member of the nursing home over who drank the most coffee. And that conversation made about as much sense, and her version of events make about as much sense as what Jerry says publicly these days. I can't underline this enough. Always say, what's going on? What's going on? And itemizing what's going on is important as we try to analyze the Cowboys, et cetera. That's what's going on. That's what's going on. This is who stole my socks. That's what's going on.
Right. And reached out to an agent, excuse me, an NFL executive on Friday, and executive texted me back, I have no clue. The Cowboys are either idiots or Micah Parsons is making a last attempt at leverage, unquote. It feels like a little bit of both. It feels like the modern economics of the NFL and contract negotiations and timing and positional value might have passed Jerry Jones by, but this absolutely feels like Micah Parsons going scorched earth on the Dallas Cowboys on Jerry Jones, determined not to play under the remaining year of his deal. And Mike, if you talked to me about this 3 weeks ago, I might have said this is all just, contract negotiations. Michael will be there. I'm kind of with Jerry Jones. I don't know that he's going to be on the field week 1. I don't know that Micah Parsons is going to be a Dallas Cowboy through the end of this year. And I certainly don't know that it's going to be the Dallas Cowboys who make him one of the highest paid pass rushers moving forward.
And one of the issues here, when you talk about procrastination, the procrastination of all these decisions, a trade situation would just be procrastinated upon too at this point. Now, I know you've got some proposals, and we do the proposal thing. Okay, we do that. By the way, I saw one, and it was the Athletic, and they had a bunch of their Athletic reporters come in, and I could tell these people were dragooned into sending something for like a
Yes.
group. And one of them is Terry McLaurin for Brandon Ayuk, who says no. And it's like Brandon Ayuk's ACL might say no.
Yes. Yes.
For example, Brandon Ayuk's MRI and doctor might say no, and that's the level like we operate with these. But you've got one. I'm not going to poo-poo it, but let me just say this: if the Lions said, "Here's 3 first-round picks for Micah Parsons, 3 first-round picks, and Marcus Davenport for Micah Parsons," I might say, "Hey, that actually makes sense for the Lions in their situation." If the Bills did something like that, similarly, that phone call could wind up going to an answering machine and sitting there. That's one of the things we're up against. We're not talking about we put together a logical trade proposal that actually really helps the Cowboys and solves this problem. And maybe it's plausible. You could hand that to Jerry and he'd be like, I need to think about it and go walk away. And then next thing he's saying Micah could get hit by a car, or all the other crazy stuff he's saying. Anyway, just putting that out there. But you have come up with something, right?
Yeah, I'm not going to take full credit for this because, kind of the idea stemmed from that same athletic piece that we both read about various trade proposals, including for Micah Parsons.
Uh,
Matt Schneidman had a really interesting one. This isn't his exact proposal, but Romeo Doubs and
mhm.
2 first-round picks to the Dallas Cowboys sends Micah Parsons to the Green Bay Packers. And I feel like it checks a lot of boxes. I feel like the Packers need to clear their wide receiver logjam because they drafted Matthew Golden, they drafted Savion Williams, they already have Jaden Reed, they have Dontavian Wicks. All of these young players, these young receivers, they've built around Jordan Love, but maybe only one true number one, maybe in Matthew Golden. Their pass rush is a mess. They go up against the Detroit Lions twice a year. They go up against all those wide receivers in Minnesota twice a year. They believe they're serious contenders with an unserious pass rush. I think that if the Cowboys were offered 2 first-rounders and a receiver of Doubs's caliber that they could pair with CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, it feels like that's how they want to try to win is around Dak Prescott and that offense. I think Jerry might have actually say yes to something like that.
Too athletic, that one up a little bit. You have to make it Christian Watson. You have to include the obviously injured guy.
Injured guy.
You have to include the obviously injured guy there. And Dobbs is apparently having a great camp. There's all kind of great stuff coming out of about him over the last 2 days. That's fine. I can't see the Packers doing that because the Packers don't operate with this giant, massive maneuver type of thing. If they were the ones who were likely to do that, they would have just grabbed Von Miller or Joey Bosa along the way. I don't hate it. But like that's an example of something where it's like, well, we can put this thing together. We can put these boxes together as reporters, fans, and you can ask agents, and they'll give their input because they want their guys to get paid and move around a little bit. That one, the Packers, I can't see them doing. And then again, you hand that to Jerry Jones, and maybe he's having a fit of pique, and he doesn't care who Romeo Doubs is or ever I got my receivers because we only need 2 of them or whatever. And you put this gift horse and solution in front of him, and then you get a no on the other end. And that's what I would face whatever we talked about if we talked about a Micah trade proposal.
Well, where do you think this thing ends? Because I can't get a read on it. Again, my thoughts have gone from this is all going to work out to who knows where Micah Parsons is going to be in 2026 to maybe he sits in 2025. The Cowboys have the leverage that they have the final year of the contract. But Micah Parsons he's gone no contact with Jerry Jones. They've both said they haven't spoken publicly or privately since the trade request. Where does this end, in your opinion, in your best guess?
Ends where they often end with Stephen Jones saying, "Give me the phone, Daddy. Give me the checkbook, Daddy. Give them to me. I'm calling the agent. We're getting this done." And reaching whatever point he gets where Jerry capitulates and lets everyone else handle things, and then you get a bigger than TJ Watt contract offer put in front of Micah, who looks at that and says, this is my best solution because I need to get through the next 2 or 3 years knowing I'm going to be financially compensated. Because he recognizes if he can't get a trade done, and they're not going to play ball, they're not going to be rational on the other side. He's looking at piggybacked franchise taggings.
Right. That's the other layer to this. They can control him for up to 3 years. If he sits this year and then 2 years with the franchise tag, it's
They did it to Dak, and they'll do it to him. Right. So that's where I think it ends, where they realize we look like fools publicly. Folks surrounding Jerry realizes there's no productive endpoint for this, and they throw that money in front of Micah that says, "Oh, that looks like a financial apology to me." But a financial apology at this point has to be bigger than a TJ Watt contract, which is a huge, huge payment for a great player, but more than the market value would have been if they had done this last year. They could have done all this last year. This could have been
$123 million went to TJ Watt in that latest extension. So you're talking about 125, $127 million for Micah
30,
Parsons.
something like that, highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL, in front of him. The money not stacked up in a way that would have been ideal for the Cowboys as they move cap space around. And just sort of they solved that problem, and maybe they created another problem down the line in terms of cap. But in the meantime, there's this month of everybody like the Trevon Diggses and the Daks who've been dragged into this.
Yeah.
looking at this saying, if this team starts out 2-4, where's my mind going to be?
Right. It's going to be, why do I have to run through a wall for this? If my ankle starts to hurt a little bit, do I play through it, or does it become a high ankle sprain? Right.
Right.
I mean, there's ways that you take care of your players, and we've seen high class organizations like the Eagles, like the Kansas City Chiefs, like to an extent the Pittsburgh Steelers,
Yep.
outside of what happened with T.J. Watt, the Bills, obviously taking care of their own. And then there's this, where you're just viewing your players as a product, as part of the machine. And I think that I agree with Dak Prescott and Trayvon Diggs speaking out publicly in defense of Micah Parsons, because they went through similarly contentious negotiations. They had their names dragged in the mud just because they missed some games due to injury last year by Jerry Jones trying to disparage Micah Parsons for missing 4 games due to injury a year ago. It just seems like it's a bad situation in Dallas. Feels like there's legitimate drama playing out.
Yep.
And there was also some manufactured drama in the NFL multiverse this week with the release of depth charts. If you've watched my TikTok, if you've seen me on YouTube, if you follow me on Threads or Blue Sky, where the checkmark, I'm part of the blue checkmark crew now, along with you on Blue Sky.
Welcome to the
You
home.
now know how I feel about depth charts being released in August, Mike.
Let me ask you this: when you were covering the Giants, covering the Eagles, didn't it feel good to get handed that paper depth chart? Did it
You
feel
know what
good?
felt you know what felt even better was, I won't reveal which team this was, but I was watching a training camp practice alongside one of the top PR people and two of the top reporters, and they're debating who they should list as the number one wide receiver on the depth chart. So
Ooh.
so I have a feeling about how this
Yeah,
particular sausage is made. It's not Nick
the
Sirianni going
coach.
into his office and grabbing the piece of paper and the pen and drawing out for everybody to see who his number one linebacker is and who his number one nickel cornerback is, and then handing it to the media. It's the PR department putting it together just because it's a requirement that there needs to be in the media guide that goes out every week before each game. In the game release, there needs to be a depth chart. It's just the PR people of the world putting it together. There's no real insight there, but people get all worked up and they read so much into it. And Shador Sanders starting is kind of a big deal, and I think it's a mile marker for that rookie quarterback. But who the number 4 linebacker is, or why the rookie wide receiver is listed number 3 instead of number 1, none of it matters, Mike. It just doesn't matter.
Yeah, and what you're saying, and just so people who listen don't know the whole thing, it's like, yeah, as the beat writers, you get the paper copy, and then it's released to fans through the beat writers taking
Yeah.
pictures of it, whatever. And it is an NFL requirement that something be put out, like whatever day of the week this was. They are done by the media departments. However, something like Shador Sanders being number one on the depth chart must be checked off by the coaching staff. So,
Yes.
so anything that's unusual on there, someone has signed off on that. Is it because they're signing off on it because it's real? Maybe. Is it a message they feel like sending? That's probably more accurate in a lot of cases. In that particular case, I'm guessing it's because Kenny Pickett is still banged up or whatever, and there's an effort to try to like manage the egos and expectations of people. I'll give you another example of a message. We talk about it. At least Jerry Jones is like sundowning. At least we can not say there's probably like something happening here that's not just like dumbassery. The Bengals listed Trey Hendrickson as a third stringer.
I mean, that's taking it quite literally that he's not going to play, right? I mean, you're just literally saying he's not playing, right? Is that basically what you're trying to do there? Because the more sinister conspiratorial thought is, this is nasty negotiations. We don't like how they handled this. We're going to list him at number 3.
I think it's the former. This is a team, Mike Brown, the owner, although he usually goes through his sister Katie Blackburn when saying something particularly scathing, said, what did he call him? Sensitive? He said he's dramatic. I forget the exact words that he used for Hendrickson, but something along the lines of, Hendrickson in negotiations being a bit of a drama mama or whatever, however you want to put that. Something that is only going to tick the guy off more. Like you want to tick me off, tick you off, say I'm being dramatic when I'm trying to negotiate a contract and there's millions of dollars at stake. Then, if he's sensitive, dramatic, what he said, let's make him the third stringer. Let's see how he responds to that. There is nothing there except an inflammatory mentality.
Right, and there's nothing that would have stopped the Bengals from penciling him in atop the depth chart where he's going to return once he signs the contract opposite Shamar Stewart. There's nothing that would have stopped them
Right.
from putting that out there. So yeah, you could be sending a message like, hey, you know. This is what happens when you cut off communications. This is what happens when you stay home in Jacksonville for the first week of training camp before coming up to Cincinnati. We're going to list you as number three. It's unnecessary. As you said, it's inflammatory.
Right.
I just have a really hard time reading into these things. And then you go to New Orleans, where I mean, the Saints are the Saints, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they're floundering around in financial salary cap hell.
Mhm.
Quarterback depth chart: Spencer Rattler, or Tyler Shaw, or Jake Heineke.
Jake Haener.
Jake
Jake
Hader.
Haener. If it was Tyler Heineke, he would be the starter. Tyler
Yes.
Heineke, who's backing up Justin Herbert right now, would be the opening day uncontested starter. And Heineke's horrible, to be clear. To be clear, but he started a bunch of games in the NFL. By the standards of a backup, he's kind of okay. So I guess my question, I mean, I have a lot of questions. It's the Saints. I have nothing but questions. Jake Haener too? Like I thought it was Shuck versus Rattler. It's so moribund that they threw Haener in there. Well, and to keep everyone on top of things, Haener was the fourth round pick in 2023. Rattler was the fifth round pick in 2024. Shuck is the second round pick this year. They're getting there. They're getting to maybe we needed to draft a quarterback, but they keep circling it. They keep like edging up their way to do it. I guess let me ask you this: how do you see this playing out?
Yeah, I have a hard time believing it's going to be anybody other than Tyler Shuck, right? I mean, he's the new kid on the block. He's the rookie.
Mm,
The Saints are going to struggle to compete, in my opinion, even in that division. And if you're struggling to compete with the Buccaneers and the Falcons and an ascending Carolina Panthers, who the signature moments column, read it today, Two Deep Zone, Carolina Panthers, check it out. But if you're struggling to compete with the Panthers and the Falcons and the Buccaneers of the world, chances are you're going to be firmly entrenched in the Arch Manning Drew Aller sweepstakes come April.
who's
So
fired?
play Tyler Shuck. Figure out what you're going to do and whether you need to take the quarterback high and jumpstart a rebuild. Don't waste your time spinning your wheels with Spencer Rattler or Jake Hader. Don't spin your wheels. Throw balls to the wall. Play your rookie. See what happens.
Um, uh, I think they could end up with Rattler because I've seen Rattler, and we've Rattler. I think entered college in like 2006. He might have been my roommate at one point. He played in college forever. We've seen him do the gutsy, get it done at the clutch time thing a few times on like a couple different schools. So I can actually see him winning the job. There's no right answer there. This is a team that's dead for cap purposes. It's hilarious to see three names there. And this is going to be a little bit of a segue to what else we're doing here. The Colts have a less dire, but still rather comical situation where they put as their starting quarterback Daniel Jones or Anthony Richardson. But at least that's a legitimate competition.
Well, I do find it kind of hilarious how coaches and PR departments and NFL teams and college programs bend over to massage the
Yeah,
egos of these players
yeah,
because you could very easily say, hey, we're going to throw Anthony Richardson out there with the ones, the
yeah,
first series he's going to start. He's number one on the depth chart. Daniel Jones is number two. Just like, college program X could list their running backs one, two, three, four, but because they use all of them, it's one or across the board. I just don't understand these are either college kids that are getting paid that are on the verge of adulthood or adult NFL players who are getting paid handsomely. You don't need to massage the egos and list or. And you already have the most compelling quarterback competition in the league this summer. Why not make it look like there's an actual competition between Richardson and Jones? Whoever's starting this week, list them as number one this week. And whoever's starting in week two of the preseason, it's the other guy who's number one, or whatever the case may be. Let it actually be a competition. And this is why I don't buy depth charts. This is why I don't believe depth charts, because they tell us next to nothing. We can't even get a read on how this is playing out until we see it on the field on Thursday night.
right. It wouldn't be rocket science to say Anthony Richardson is the incumbent here, so he is quarterback one, but we all know there's a competition. Spencer Rattler is the incumbent here, and Shuck, you're the rookie. It's simple. They choose not to do it. There's other ones out there, but you're right. All we're doing at this point is Like we're starved. We're not even starved for real football. We're starved for fake football at this point because you're kind of on week 3 of the camp stories. It's over with. We've interviewed everybody, everyone who's in the best shape of their life. We've talked about the best shape of their life. We've talked about the undrafted free agent who made the one-handed catch on July 19th, and now we've all drafted him in fantasy like 5th round, etc. We need the preseason games, and you love it or hate it, they're here. They give us another round of conversation. 7, Matt, 7 televised NFL Network preseason games going across the 3-day weekend, so to speak, from Thursday to Sunday, and 8 for us in the Philadelphia area because we're going to have to like probably dance around a little bit the fact that the Eagles are playing the Bengals on Thursday night. But what I wanted to do with you is a little bang, marry, kill.
Let's do it.
And the rules are simple. Everybody knows the rules of bang, marry, kill. But I'm going to say bang means I'm going to throw a brick through my television. I'm going to the pool. I'm going to go mow the lawn to avoid this game. Excuse me, that's kill. I just did it.
That's kill. You did.
You understand bang
Reset the rules.
I've been married 30 years. Bang, marry, kill is hard. I don't know what bang or kill means. Okay.
That means you're hooking up. It's casual.
Well, obviously,
it's the casual.
when you say it, I understand it, but when I have to try to internalize it, it's tricky. I'm an old man. Okay, so kill means I'm gonna go mow the lawn and actually take the batteries out of my remote control of my television to make sure we don't watch that game. Bang is I'm gonna hook up with it for first quarter. I want to see the rookie quarterback. I want to see Cam Ward. Rookie. So first quarter I'm gonna show up. Then I'm gonna move on. Marry is now no one's watching all 4 quarters of these games unless maybe it's your home team. You're going to stick around through halftime. You want to see the backup quarterback. Maybe you want to see the 3rd round running back, etc. And that's marry. So now that I'm clear on it, because everybody was clear before I started talking, everyone else knew what the hell I was talking about before I started talking. I'm going to hit you with the games that are on NFL Network.
Let's do it.
Thursday night, we're going to start with Colts Ravens, Danny Dimes versus Anthony Nickelbags. Bang, marry, kill.
I'm hoping that I get back in time from Latrobe to catch this game because I am marrying this game. I am all in on the Colts quarterback competition. As you termed it in the fabulous preseason viewing guide in Monday's walkthrough, it is the Anthony Richardson, Daniel Jones being smashed into each other like cheap bargain bin action figures action. I am all in. I want to see this play out. I want to see if Richardson can turn the corner. Spoiler alert for folks, you know that I put out the survey every year of under the radar MVP candidates and sleeper teams and Super Bowls from executives and players and coaches inside the league. Spoiler alert for a couple weeks from now, Anthony Richardson's name has come up a couple of times. So I want to see if Daniel Jones can fend off Anthony Richardson. And conversely, if Richardson has made any sort of leap to secure the starting job and what that Colts offense can be with Shane Steichen going into his 3rd year as head coach.
I'll talk to fans. I'll be on like Discords, etc. And I'm like, why haven't people given up on Anthony Richards yet? And I'll be like, have you looked at him? Have you physically seen the dude? It's like, no, of course we're going to give him a couple extra chances along the way. And there's a possibility. Yeah, and if that possibility is small, it's still worth looking at, and people on the inside agree with that. So I think that's a marry for both of us. Now here in Philly, if you're home in time, I think that there's going to be a preempting thing involved. The Eagles will be on the regular TV. I'll pop over to my NFL Plus, and I'll be able to watch this one because it's going to be more interesting than Tanner McKee and Jake Browning. I'm not even sure what's going on with that. I've lost track of it.
I'm sure my wife will have the Eagles game on the big TV, and I have to make the decision. Do you sit down and watch the Eagles? Or you go down into the command center, and do you put the Eagles on one TV and Colts Ravens on the other? It's going to be a tough call. Otherwise, I might have to, jump in and borrow your NFL Plus login to watch the game film later.
That's a violation of something along.
No, I won't do that.
Late game Thursday night, we have Raiders Seahawks. Bang, marry, kill.
I'm banging this one because I'm all in on Ashton Genty. I have, unfortunately, the #1 pick in my Dynasty fantasy draft for finishing in last place last year. So Ashton Genty will be joining the squad this September during the rookie draft. So Ashton Genty, got to get a glimpse of him. Maybe we get a glimpse of Sam Darnold in Seattle. Maybe we get to see what those receivers look like. Sans DK Metcalf in Seattle, possibly. So I'll check in. I'll window shop. I'll watch the first quarter or so, and then I'm probably going to go to sleep.
I'm somewhere between bang and kill on this one because there's a chance we hear, well, Ginty's not starting in the first game. I haven't gotten an update on that, or he's going to get 2 carries. And I might go towards well, there'll be a cut up because the trick is significant rookies, the cut up of all of their 8 carries or whatever will be easily accessed. I might go in that direction because the Seahawks are so damn boring.
Yes. Forever and always.
Yes, forever and always, but particularly the Sam Darnold, Marquez, Valdez version of the team that they've put together right now. Friday, this one's okay. Bang, marry, kill. Browns versus Panthers.
No, I mean, I'm gonna shoot this thing and then run over its carcass with my car. Okay, like, come on. Maybe we get a glimpse of Shador. We get to see that quarterback situation play out. The Panthers are quasi interesting, but I doubt they're going to play Bryce Young. This is a kill for me. Get it off my TV. It's Friday night. I'm gonna take the wife and kids to pizza. We're gonna chill. We're gonna relax. Maybe make s'mores in the fire pit outside. I'm not dedicating a moment to Browns Panthers.
That's a good way to live your life, honestly. I'm somewhere actually between a bang and a marry on it, depending on if we get, and we're recording right now at about 12 on a Wednesday. We could get news when we get off the air here. It's like, here's how the Browns are going to do the quarterbacks, quarter by quarter, and that might change it. I'm curious. I am Shador curious. I think Dylan Gabriel's amusing. And I don't know how, I do want to see how the Panthers are approaching. Progressing and approaching it. Are they acting like, well, we don't have to give these guys work. I mean, come on, is Bryce Young, Xavier Leggett, and who's the tight end? Not Jermichael Finley. He's like retired 8 years ago. Anyway, Latavian Sanders. Like, these guys don't need work. It's like, dude, they need so much work. And sometimes
they need all the work. All the work.
You can glean a little bit of like what the coach's mentality on this, because if you're playing games like, well, because we want to treat these guys like established starters, we're going to rest them. It's like, well, congratulations, now your team's not very good. I want to see how they approach it. And again, I'm Browns curious in terms of how low they can go and what it's going to look like.
I have been firm in my stance, and I'm not evolving off this one. I just don't understand Joe Flacco being there. I don't understand Joe Flacco playing a single snap in the preseason, let alone walking into any sort of starting role. I'm going to lump them into the same category as the Saints here, Mike. That if you drafted Dylan Gabriel and you drafted Shador Sanders, both mid to late round draft choices. If you took those guys and you have no viable plan beyond this year, unless one of them surprises you, unless one of them shows you they can be the guy, you need to be thinking about taking a quarterback next year in April, especially if you're picking top 2, top 3, and the names that we're all familiar with are available to you. Besides, we've seen now playing rookie quarterbacks is the best way to develop them, right? We've seen it, the last several years worth of data. You throw your rookie quarterback out there, you get to evaluate them, and they get the game experience. They get the reps, and you might even be rewarded with a guy who exceeds expectations. You know what Joe Flacco is? He's a 40-plus-year-old quarterback. He's playing the 17th and 18th holes of his career. People will tell me that Joe Flacco is there to preserve the locker room and make it look like they aren't tanking. What if Shador lights it up this week? Or what if Dylan Gabriel comes out and dominates the rest of this preseason? What if Kenny Pickett comes back and looks like he's turning a corner and protecting the football for once in his career with that first-round pedigree? Why would you play Flacco?
Well, first of all, it's freaking Haslam's money. He's paying $250 million to a freaking rapist. Who cares? He can give one of my neighbors a little bit more money. That's fine. That's great. But like, all three of those things ain't going to happen. Shador and Dylan Gabriel and Kenny Pickett, the chances...
You just need one. You just need one.
Well, if one of them does, then we've got the backup on the bench in case of injury who doesn't need many reps, and he stands there with the Gatorade and he like helps the assistant quarterback coach or whatever, and that's fine. But I understand what you're still doing from a team building standpoint. When it's as effed up as it is here, why do you even do that? Why don't you simply rip all of the Band-Aids off and say, we're an expansion team for 1 year? And the answer to that is political. It is like, well, we don't want to look like we're tanking. I mean, there's a little bit of I meant to do that.
You already don't look like you're tanking when you sign Myles Garrett and pay him $40 million a year, right? I mean, they could have just let Myles Garrett sway in the wind. They could have traded Myles Garrett and gone all in on the tank. But the moment you pay Myles Garrett, you're signaling we're in it. but we're also in it with one eye towards playing one of our young guys to see if they can be the guy that takes us to the promised land this year or in years to come.
I feel like the coach looked around and said, "Guys, please give me something. Please give me something that like you know, like this comfort item, like a bink."
Yes.
And Joe Flacco is the binky there because it's like he looks around at these guys and it's like I'm going to get fired. This is going to go look bad on me. If Flacco is out there and he's playing at a very low level and things, it's like well we kind of know what was going on there. He's only out there because these other dudes were banana pants, you
Yeah.
know. Or in Gabriel's case, 5'3" and 97 pounds, and that these guys were not playable, and that might be the plausible deniability that uh, God, I'm
Stefanski, Kevin Stefanski, the head coach.
Stefanski and Barry and all
And
these
Barry.
guys. I'm blanking on names today. It's just coffee in here, I swear. But that these guys want to kind of get through this season with dignity before they can look for their next job. Let's go on to Saturday matinee. And this one's got to be near and dear to your heart because you would have been there probably in the past up in Orchard Park. Giants Bills.
Marrying this one. You know,
Yeah.
I'm on one knee as it is for this game for many reasons here. Number one, I think it's really cool that Brandon Beane and the Bills went all in on defensive line. I want to see if that translated, what that's going to look like this year for them, ignoring their problem at wide receiver. But moreover, man, Giants training camp was an absolute vibe, right? Abdul Carter and Brian Burns just flying off the edge. Malik Neighbors is making plays left and right. I talked to Carl Banks about Malik Neighbors. He thinks that he's, well, good beyond his years. And you will watch Malik Neighbors. He's making all these great plays after the catch because of his explosiveness. You're going to get to see Jackson Dart and maybe do a little bit more than he did in Mobile when it was a parade and cavalcade of 1 yard out passes and bubble screens and handoffs to running backs out of the backfield. The Giants are really interesting. I don't think they're a team that's going to like push for a division win, but they could push to be 500. The Bills are a nice test, and the Bills had some young talent that I want to check out. So the proposal is in, and I'm marrying Giants Bills appointment television on Saturday.
You and Giants and Bills at the Coldplay concert with your arms around each other, and I'm marrying it too. Although the matinees are tricky for me, I might be DVRing it and fast forwarding through pieces of it. All the reasons you said. Scatabo, we should be seeing some of him possibly. There's a running back quasi controversy of the Giants that could be interesting. I don't think the Bills are going to play anybody, frankly. But looking at some of their depth guys, they're one of the deepest teams in the
Yeah.
NFL year in and year out, and they're going to see if they can continue that by putting some of their depth guys on defense out. Maybe somebody emerges from this like quagmire of receiving pieces. Um, Next one. This one's odd. I believe it's a 4 o'clock matinee. Texans Vikings.
I might bang this one.
Yeah.
The Vikings are looking a little bit intriguing. You get a couple scotches in you, a couple Yinglings, and it's 1 in the morning. You glance over and you see the Vikings, right? You see like this quarterback situation, and what is JJ McCarthy? I kind of want to figure that out.
Yes.
The Texans are kind of the tackling dummies in this case. I want to see what JJ McCarthy can do. I'll take the Vikings and Texans home with me. I'll watch that game. I'll check in for a little bit. I ain't sticking around for bottom of the depth chart quarterback play though. No, no, thank you there.
To be clear, and your wife should be happy to hear this, you had the metaphor of the pickup really scrambled, which means that you don't really know how they work. Like if you don't want to stick around, you can't bring them home.
Right.
Okay.
Well,
I just letting you know. Now, don't ask how I know this. Trust me, it's from an Elmore Leonard novel or something. Anyway, backing up, banging JJ McCarthy. Going to bang
yeah.
that because we've been waiting like 13 months or whatever it's been to see something. They say he's going to play a lot. I think he'll be out there with. Obviously, Jefferson won't be playing. I don't think Addison will be playing, but we'll see some of their starting linemen. And the Texans are like a better, higher evolved version of the Panthers, where I want to see how they're approaching the fact that they have all this transition on the offensive line, that Stroud probably needs work. So I kind of want to see what they're looking at. But the moment McCarthy's out of the game, it's switch this one off, go do something else with life, because I think that's where the interest ends. And then Saturday
Yeah.
night, This,
Well, one more thing there. One more thing on that game. I just want to get your expectations for JJ McCarthy going in because it seems like they're all over the map, right? You see these clips from people in training camp, and he's throwing to a spot before Justin Jefferson even makes out of his break, and it's a big catch and a big gain. You see other people saying that the accuracy has become a real issue, which counteracts the videos that you're seeing. And this is a guy who handed the ball off 422 times at Michigan, right? Barely asked to run a passing game, but goes into Indianapolis in the combine, blows executives away by how he handles the board and diagnosing plays and the ability to break things down and how he processes information. Sam Darnold, he gets hurt last year, so the rookie year gets kind of cast aside. What are your expectations going in? Because I'm intrigued. I think that if he's replacement level Sam Darnold, the Vikings are going to be really tough to beat. But I don't know that he's even going to be that, or he could walk out and be Bo Nix rookie
I'm
season.
I'm exhausted from the tea leaf reading of a guy that we saw throw like 11 preseason passes last year. You know how it is with camp and camp stories, and you've written 1,000 of them, and you stood next to the other person writing their 1,000, and some people are standing there and they have no damn idea what they're looking at.
Yeah.
Some have an idea what they look at, but they don't care. They want to tell their story. Okay, to their particular group of people who are interested, and then at least we're talking about the people who are standing on the sideline. Then you have the ripper of the one piece of information, like the one video up and saying, "Here's my 37 scouting notes on this," and it becomes gibberish. I mean, I am reading a lot of folks who have Substacks and things like that from camp, and they're experienced people, and it sounds like it is a work in progress.
Yeah.
It's a work in progress. And even if you're an experienced person at camp every day, you're usually disinclined to say, this kid sucks and this is a effing disaster because you got to interview him the next day, or, you're going to talk to the media guy about what you wrote, etc. But
You're going to get the tap on the shoulder or the phone call on your drive home. Yes,
what was
I've been
that?
there. I've experienced both things.
What was that? What are you
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to be here tomorrow. I'm calling your editor. Yeah, that whole routine. Uh, I need to see.
Yeah.
What's great is okay. So FTN Almanacs has a low expectation for the Vikings. It's a very low win total. The Vegas win total is low. The expectations are actually low. And at these low expectations of McCarthy going out there, having a learning experience year, obviously getting some touchdowns because the guys he's throwing to, Addison's suspended for the first 3 games, whatever. Like, he could throw for 3,500 yards and they could win 9 games. I think that's very reasonable. I think that's fair. And I don't know people who are talking about how great he is or how weak he is, what they're basing it on, what their expectation is beyond that.
I think the expectation is, and I wrote this a little bit in the 5 burning questions for the NFC North up on between the hash marks right now over on Substack. It's almost like you look at that defense being as dominant as it is, and another year of continuity with Van Ginkel and with Flores calling the plays, and the additions they've made on that side of the ball. That if he just goes out and scores 20 points a game, they're going to be fine because the defense is so dominant and there's the weapons around him. But I don't know. We're kind of where we were with the Vikings a year ago, right? It was the same theory a year ago, and they defied expectations. If he's not the guy, you're kind of risking wasting this top tier defense with an elite defensive coordinator.
Right, but he could be Bo Nix. Like, we're
It
kind of
could
just
be, right.
but he has Bo Nix's rookie year, and it's like, I think he could have that. I will never discern that from listening to camp notes or even watching preseason games.
For sure.
Right, but like, okay, there's an expectation that's cool. Oh, he's going to be Jaden Daniels. Well, do we really have enough to base that on? Oh, he's going to be, Zippy the Pinhead. I don't see any reason to believe that either, based on what's going on. Let's get him out there. Let's see what's going on. Evening game on Saturday night. Jets Packers.
I think I might bang this one only because the Jets are fascinating to me. You have Justin Fields, and who knows if he's going to play because of the toe injury he had a week or two ago in camp. But Garrett Wilson's there. They've built up their offensive line over the last few years. So if the first team offensive line is out there, what kind of progress has they made? And, we touched on the Packers' lack of a pass rush. If Lucas Van Ness and Rashawn Gary play, what do we see? Is Lucas Van Ness finally going to make the leap that they've been hoping and praying for since they overdrafted him at number 13 overall? Like, what is that Packers pass rush? So I'll watch first quarter, first half of this game. The see what happens.
Yeah, I'm kind of somewhere between there and the kill. Usually Saturday night of preseason, I'm at my desk, I'm in the war room, and a lot of times I can pull up a different game on NFL Plus, and that might be what I'm doing there, where that one's on the TV, this one's on, and I'm skating around. I don't know who's going to play when on this,
Yeah.
and I don't care. Like, yeah, and Ness, that's a good example. I need to see some TK power from Ness. Other than that, it's like I'm sure something's going on. So I haven't looked up the rest of the schedule. I don't have that in front of me. I feel like that's one where it's like if it's that or nothing, I watch that, or I go hang out on the porch with my wife. But if it's that or two or three other preseason games, I might go with one of the other ones.
Yeah,
Last,
and then Sunday, interesting slate on Sunday.
yeah, the televised one because there's a couple on Sunday. Uh, Dolphins Bears, bang Mary kill.
I think I might bang this one because it feels like Ben Johnson's the type that would play Caleb Williams in a preseason game to kind of build some familiarity with the play calling, with the new system, with the new offensive line. No team has undergone more of an offseason makeover than the Chicago Bears. Few quarterbacks going into just their second season face more pressure, in my opinion, than Caleb Williams because Ben Johnson didn't draft him, because all they've done to prop him up from a skill set, a supporting cast standpoint, now a quarterback whisperer head coach viewpoint. The Bears are interesting. The Dolphins feel like a team that's just ready to come apart at the seams this year. It just seems like they're being like hanging on by a thread. They probably should have cleaned house this past offseason. So they're a very interesting litmus test for the Bears if the Bears play their offensive starters. So I'm probably going to bang this one and then peace out at halftime.
Somewhere between a bang and a marry, maybe, a move in with commitment along the way. Because I think we will see Caleb. The Dolphins, I just got done writing about 1,000 words on the Dolphins, and I don't think they're emotionally okay as a group of people. I think that this is chaotic situation and
I've
hilarious.
heard the same, by the way. I've heard the same from
Hilarious,
people who would know. Yes.
hilariously chaotic. I mean, from the outside, et cetera, like, these are millionaires, whatever. Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson in the preseason. Is there? It don't get no better than that. I mean, Trey Lance is probably the optimized preseason quarterback in terms of we're still going to talk about when he was drafted and everything. Wilson, same draft, kind of up there, and he's in that similar situation where you're like, gosh, McDaniel seems to like him. They seem to be talking about him. There's this weird vibe around Tua. Like, are we looking at a stealth quarterback controversy with a guy who in the past, in the preseason, has gone out there and looked like Joe Montana?
Yeah, I'm kind of approaching that level of intrigue because I wonder if Zach Wilson is finally the backup quarterback that Mike McDaniel can compete with.
Right.
Because it just seems like if Tua Tagovailoa isn't on the field, that offense goes to
Yeah.
shambles.
Right.
And yet they've spent an offseason minimizing Tua Tagovailoa's impact on that offense.
Right.
So if Wilson can be a competent backup, maybe the Dolphins are a little bit further ahead of things than we expect, and definitely worth watching. Yeah, so Zach Wilson and Caleb Williams, I'm in for you. You have me for a quarter. You
You have
you
me for
you
a
have
quarter.
me for a quarter. We'll see what happens after that.
And then we can talk about commitment after that. Right. Now there's a lot of other games, but my God, we just talk more preseason football than any non-sicko. By the way, you buried the lead there. So you're hearing some stuff with the Dolphins? You see
I'm here. Yeah, I might be writing it in the next like week or so, but let's just say this: that the culture is not necessarily in a great place in Miami, from what I've heard and from what people have told me.
You don't say. I mean, I was reading between the lines. I wasn't able to be with you during the Jordan Poyer interview, but he was talking about how much he loved Buffalo, how unwilling he was to start over, how much he loved Buffalo. And I was like, where did he spend that one gap year last year?
There's another shoe to drop. Yeah, there's another shoe that's about to drop at some point. But from what I've been told by him and other people, it's just not a great situation in Miami. So I don't think we're going to learn much about the culture in the preseason, but certainly you could set the tone, or by losing out or winning out. So we'll see.
Right. And you'll get like sort of quotes afterwards. And with Mike McDaniel quoting Pink Floyd during his press conferences already. Who knows what happens if there's a spate of injuries or a little bit of a disagreement and body language on the sideline? Tyreek Hill like doing something. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Um, We're wrapping up here. As I say, what do you got coming up? But you got a drive to Latrobe coming up, and what else besides that?
I got the drive to Latrobe and the training camp postcard coming out after practice. The brief pod appearance with you and I afterwards from
Yeah.
Latrobe, maybe over a craft beer, maybe not. We will see. Uh, and then we have the mailbag on Friday. Hopefully, going to be spending part of the drive, reaching out to folks on the phone and picking their brain about what the readers want to know, answering the readers' questions in the mailbag on Friday, and then four downs on Monday. What's coming up on the two deep zone?
Well, first of all, I need to apologize to the citizens of Latrobe, Pennsylvania, and any place around there if it sounded like I was being overly negative. I love you guys. Also, I haven't been there in about 6 years, since the pandemic, certainly. So if you now have a thriving brew pub culture, that will be Matt's gain, my loss. I didn't mean to. Suggest otherwise, but just to make it clear, Iron City Lima-Rita is not a premium microbrew, so you cannot count that, citizens of Latrobe. And no Rolling Rock is not made there in town anymore, so you cannot count that one either. Now, coming up, I am writing. I got the Panthers up with their signature moments. Not all cam moments, even though I put like 30 cams on the photo that went with it. It is there's a lot of interesting moments for the Panthers. I am writing. Tomorrow or Friday about the Dolphins, about the Commanders, a few other teams there, and then next week we're going to be talking about Danny Dimes, and we're going to be talking about whoever played what for the Browns because we're going to have preseason action to talk about for better or for worse.
We'll have takeaways. We'll have takeaways on the pod. We'll have takeaways in the Monday columns. It's
Yeah.
going to be a lot of fun. And if you enjoy both of our work, please go ahead and subscribe to Mike Tanier's Two Deep Zone on Substack. Subscribe to Between the Hash Marks on Substack. And if you've made it this far on the pod, God bless you. Please subscribe on the
Barely.
Apple Podcast Store. Leave us those 5-star reviews. Let us know what you liked about the episode, what you didn't like, maybe a guest who you'd like to hear from. Leave us a 5-star review, and your dream podcast guest. We'll try to reach out and get them on the show in coming weeks. You can check us out on my YouTube channel, Matt Lombardo 975, anywhere you get your podcasts. And Mike, this has been a lot of fun. We'd be sure to follow you on Blue Sky. You can check me out on Threads and Blue Sky. We're both part of the Blue Checkmark Club. Finally,
We're back.
we're in the club.
We are so back, and we're in the club. And next week, nothing but pickup tips from me and Matt. You don't want to miss it. You don't want to miss it. Two ladies, man.